Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for tuning in for another episode. I got a viewer comment the other day where they asked me, what's one bait that I think we've forgotten about over the years? And I think that's a great question. So I decided I'd do a video on it and give you 5 baits that, honestly, these are all just soft plastics. Like when you sit down and think about the number of baits that have come out on the market over the years that have been just absolute fish catching machines for us, and then they just kind of get pushed on the wayside. And the reality is, part of that is I think as better baits come out, I think part of it is just the trends. People decide to go with what's hot and you forget about what you're using or what you previously were using. And sometimes we go back to those baits, sometimes we don't go back to those baits. And in this case, I've got 5 baits here that, man, at one point were just like dynamite. I feel like they were the top bait out there, and now you very, very rarely hear about them. Today's video is brought to you by the Deep Dive app. This has had an amazing new update. As you guys know, I love the water clarity feature. As you can see right here, we're looking at Grand Lake, which just had a whole pile of rain come into it. It went from being really clear to having a lot of dirty water coming in the bottom end of it. Just an amazing feature to be able to determine where the clear water is versus the muddy water. So Deep Dive has just also introduced Stream Flow. Now this is a really cool feature that shows all of the water input coming into certain reservoirs and the amount of water coming in. So they measure it in cubic feet per second. You can see in this case, this is just a small creek, but then you can see the projected as well as the previous flows. If we move up the lake here, get into one of the larger rivers coming in, you can see here that we've got 490 cubic feet per second. And then it shows you that there's not much of a change expected. Now, if there's some rainfall coming, I'm sure those projections will change. If we scoot on over here to take a look at Kentucky Lake and Barkley Lake, much larger river systems, the Tennessee River, you can see what the projected outflow is going to be there, 28,000 cubic feet per second. Go check the Cumberland River here. We got 9.4 thousand cubic feet per second. Just an amazing feature that allows you to see all of the different water flows coming into the different parts of the lake. You can see which ones might be the most affected, which ones won't be affected, see what the projected outflow schedules are. A major feature to help you catch more fish. And that's on top of some of the other new features like the wind effects. Now, the wind effects is really cool because we've had wind effects as part of the app in the past, but all it did is show where the wind was hitting the shoreline the most, as you can see from the dots, the orange and bright red dots, which indicate where the wind is really striking. But now the wind feature also indicates what the wave action is like on the lake itself. So some of the features you're going to get from this is determining where to get from place to place safely by avoiding the heavy, rough water conditions. You'll be able to determine where you may have some of the strongest current flow and some of the places where you can fish to stay protected. Now, along with that, you still have some of my favorite features like the patterns that you've got on the lake that indicate the best baits and lures to fish with. You've also got the water inflow app, which shows you where a bunch of the rain input comes in. That can be an amazing pattern to fish throughout the year. Just a great feature to have. So many positive features anytime you're fishing or using the Deep Dive app. Just points you in the right direction to catch more fish. Whether you're a tournament angler or a local fun fisherman that's just out to catch a few fish, the Deep Dive app will help you catch more fish next time you're out on the water. So let's start with the first bait here. It's this guy. This is what we used to call a skirted grub. So this was a double tail skirted grub. This is the hoola grub specifically by Yamamoto. I mean, honestly, guys, this bait actually changed my fishing style. And what I mean by that is I had a tournament. It was one of the first tournaments I ever fished with my dad. We were in our little 16-foot sea nymph. We caught 2 bass that day. They both were like 15 inchers. Everyone else had limits, and we talked with a local pro that did really well in that tournament later that day at a bait shop, and he said most of the guys were catching them on this. Now this goes back to when the Yamamoto baits were like secret underground style baits. You had to order direct from them. Just a really cool kind of concept. Opened my eyes up to how like baits could really matter. But the key here is what they were doing with it is fishing deep outside weed lines. That was a foreign thing to me. I was probably 13, 14 years old. We were always just beat the bank, right? And then when this bait came out, or when I shouldn't say when it came out, when I was actually introduced to it and kind of told how to fish the outside weed line, I was able to take that, run with it. It opened up my eyes to offshore fishing. And this bait dominated for so long. And now I just don't feel like you ever hear anyone talking about throwing a hoola grub. Now, the people that still throw it know the value in it. And I actually do still throw it on a pretty regular basis. In fact, I would a lot of times rather throw that than, say, a football jig. I just feel like it's a much more natural presentation and it outperforms it in terms of the number of fish you catch. But the reality is most anglers have moved on from it, and I don't understand it. Like, it is just an absolute great bait. Now, another one that's kind of surprised me, and this is a bait that I've had a lot of really good luck on over the years, is this guy. This is the centipede. Now, this, you know, looking at this bait now, it kind of makes me think they were ahead of their curve, because the reality is creature baits that look like this in today's market are like the hottest thing going. You see all these Japanese baits coming over, and this is what they look like. They're tentacled creatures. And Arky was doing it. I don't know how, I don't know when this bait started, but I know, I mean, we're talking like 30 years ago. And this to me is a great, great bait. I've caught a ton of fish on it. I drag it on a Carolina rig, I flip with it, I fish it on a Ned rig, do a lot of different things. I have a pile of these sitting over on the shelves, and even myself, I've gotten away from them, but I've brought them back out over the last year or so, just based on me having these baits that are fully tentacled when everyone else out there is making new tentacled baits. So that's one that I think has been forgotten about. Another one I still talk about a lot on the channel, and I still catch a lot of fish on it. But your curly tail worms. This is the Berkeley power worm, which in my opinion is kind of the OG, the standard. This is the guy that just has caught me thousands and thousands of fish over the years. Doesn't matter what size. This is the 7-inch. The 4-inch is absolutely killer. The 10-inch is killer. Like, these are just great, great baits, and we have really gone away from them. Whether you want to flip with them, cast them on outside weed lines, drag them on a Carolina rig on ledges, they catch fish everywhere. But when was the last time you saw somebody throwing a power worm? I mean, you don't see it much. You don't see it, at least in tournaments, and it's surprising to me because I think that is just a killer, killer bait. Now, the next one, too, is basically just a shortened up curly tail worm. We're talking about the old school grubs, you know, a Kaleen's Lunker grub like this one is just dynamite. Like, these baits, it's funny how these were such good tournament tools, and then when the small boot tail minnows came out, they kind of replaced these guys. But these guys still absolutely catch them if you're going to fish them, you know, like you would a small grub if you want cast and reel, just like you would a small 3.3 Kitech. But they also work great as trailers. Spinner bait, vibrating jig, swim jig. You can use them as a trailer on basically anything. And we've gotten away from the grubs completely. But man, I feel like they still have a place, like the old Mr. Twisters. I mean, there is definitely a place in this world for single-tail grubs like that. And then the last bait I want to talk about has to do with pre-rigged worms. You know, any of these pre-rigged worms, they're getting harder and harder to find, but 20 years ago, 30 years ago, they were in every bait shop. They were everywhere. And to me, the great thing about these is they still are absolute fish catching machines, but they're one of the best baits to start a beginning angler out on. And the reason for that is they come pre-rigged with 3 hooks in them. You can get weedless models, you can get non-weedless models, but the reality is they catch all fish of all sizes. Like, for me, I highly recommend grabbing a worm that's got a different colored tail like that. You can see that's got the chartreuse. You can get ones that have orange, but I love a little offset color because the bluegill and perch And sunfish that are in your lake will bite that tail all of the time. And if you've got a little kid that just wants to catch fish and you want a bass fish, give them a pre-rigged worm. You go do whatever you want. They'll throw this thing around and they'll catch panfish with bass mixed in. And it's just a great fish catching tool. It's just wild to me again how that bait has just dissipated. I mean, it's hard to find them anywhere now. I mean, I don't even know if Tackle Warehouse carries them anymore. So it's interesting to me how we have lures that we have just established as some of the best plastic baits that we've used as anglers. And after time, they just get pushed to the side and totally forgotten about. So these are 5 that I think we as anglers as a whole have forgotten about. Do you guys have some that you want to add to the comment section? I'd love to hear what you have to say as well. If you enjoyed this video, let me know. I can do a hard baits one as well. There's so many baits that I just feel like we sleep on at this point. Anyways, thanks for watching. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Stay tuned. New video coming out tomorrow.